Those of you who have been here for a while know that I eat organ meat and bone marrow on a regular basis as a part of my nutritional program to make sure that I get the optimal nutrition in my diet so that way I can recover from my workouts and have an overall healing tonic in my body. But the thing is, organic, non-GMO, grass-fed organ meat is not always available, so enter Ancestral Supplements. Ancestral Supplements only uses grass-fed, non-GMO, organic beef in order to give you the best possible nutrition with the least amount of toxins. And by using the link in the description, you get 10% off anything you order from the Ancestral Supplements website.
Mountain.
Mr. G eats what he wants.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 3 most effective techniques in order to build muscle as a natural bodybuilder. So I've talked about these techniques before, and I sometimes mention them in individual videos or not, but I thought it'd be helpful for you guys that just want kind of a resurgence in your motivation. Maybe you're training at home, or maybe you're running up a mountain somewhere or whatever, but maybe you want to be reaffirmed or reminded of these 3 techniques that are actually the most effective for stimulating your overall body in order to gain muscle mass. So the first technique I'm going to talk about, which I talked about just in a recent video, is constant tension. Constant tension, especially constant tension under stretch, is one of the most effective ways that I've found to build muscle, because not only does it help stretch out that muscle fascia, but it also makes sure that you overload a muscle belly to make sure it is hitting failure and therefore establishing muscle growth, right? So we see some people who are involved in certain sports where constant tension is prevalent, such as speed skating or long distance bicycling or whatever. Constant tension does play a role in muscle mass, but I find constant tension under stretch, assuming it's not too extreme, is one of the most effective things. Now, I made a video about this, so you can watch that video if you want, but that is one of the most effective things that I've seen as far as gaining muscle, especially during your isolation movements, right? If you're doing isolation movements and you're focusing on getting that stretch in the muscle belly, not the tendons, but the muscle belly itself, you're gonna notice a massive result in a very quick period of time. So I highly encourage you to try this. If you have not tried it so far, that is definitely one of the techniques. Now, the second technique is something that is ignored by the bodybuilding purists in the world. There are certain people that have a certain amount of genetics and maybe they have some results, like they just, sat on the couch most of their life, and then once they get off the couch, they have a certain amount of muscle, and then they start doing just nothing but really strict movements, really strict isolations all the time, and they may have some development. But the thing is, I find that if you're going too strict in your movements and you're just doing nothing but light weights and only using specific ranges of motion for certain movements where you can just maintain that extremely strict form, you are ignoring one monster tool in your toolbox. One of the biggest things you can do as a natural bodybuilder is stimulate your overall system. Now, this is underestimated because a lot of people will look at certain overloading techniques as cheating, such as doing heavy partial squats or doing rack deadlifts or doing heavy Romanians, because you're not touching the plates to the floor. People think if you're doing a Romanian deadlift, then maybe you're kind of somehow cheating the deadlift gods, right? So understand this. When you just put massive amounts of weight on your system, you are sending a signal to your system itself. Now, you want to do this safely. You want to do it so that you don't injure yourself. But know this, every time you put heavy weight on your system, you are stimulating the endocrine system and stimulating the nervous system and sending out all sorts of signals to the body that it is not big and strong enough. So when you use this technique with heavy weights and compounds, and you're not overstretching, maybe you're doing even partial movements, and then you go to do the isolation movements with constant tension and stretch as well at the same time, you're gonna notice a synergy going on between these 2 techniques, because there's almost like 2 different personalities, like Man-E faces and He-Man, you know what I mean? He had 3 different faces, right? So it's like you have that heavy sort of cheat rep type of guy where you're doing these heavy weights and just trying to stimulate the overall endocrine system and nervous system and immune system, and then you go and do the super strict, like, I don't know, like, some sort of Adonis type of workouts where you're just doing nice light weights and super strict to hit different muscles that you weren't hitting with those big partial rep movements, right? So you combine these techniques, not in the same exercise, but in maybe the same workout, or maybe in your workouts throughout the week. So in one workout, you may do a lot of strict type stuff, and then the next day you may do super heavy sort of strongman type of movements, right? So I've seen people do sled drags and do heavy shrugs and all that sort of thing, and they've gotten results from it. So by watching some people who got results, I also started to apply some of the same principles, and I started to notice, wow, there's something different going on here, a different mechanism that's being activated, and it is producing a significant yield in my muscle mass. So it's something also worth including in my training program. Now, the third most effective technique, and somebody did mention this in the comments on my last video, the bottom line is he said progressive overload is one of the most powerful techniques when it comes down to building muscle. And I would say yes, gaining strength in any one movement and any one rep range is always going to yield a significant benefit to you on this journey, right? So say you're doing a movement exactly the same as you were before, and now you're able to do it with 5 more pounds, or you're able to do it with 5 more reps, you are progressively getting better, stronger, or gaining in strength endurance, and this will also produce a significant yield to you. So as you're going about this whole bodybuilding journey, bear in mind that gaining strength is something that is important, and that's why the second technique I talked about, the overall stimulating of the system, is so important, because you are pushing through that weight type limitation in those areas. And you will notice that sometimes when you go to the strict movements, you're stronger because you've overloaded the system with those super heavy weights, right? It's almost like tricking the nervous system. So remember, no matter what you're doing, you do want to also be conscious of, am I getting stronger, or am I putting on reps? And sometimes it's not a training technique problem if you're not putting on strength or reps. Maybe you're not eating enough. Maybe you're not getting enough organ meat in your diet. Maybe you're not getting enough protein in your diet. Maybe you're not just eating enough calories, period. So these are things also to look at. But if you're not gaining strength and you're not gaining strength endurance, look at your sleep, look at your diet, and know that this is definitely important in your natural bodybuilding journey to gain this muscle mass you need to gain in strength or strength endurance over time. So I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. It's raining like crazy outside, so I want to get out of the rain. Mountain. Rain comes from the mountain. So if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the patient supporters, and take care for now. Mountain. I already said mountain, but I'll say it again. Mountain.